Okay, so as far as picks, and then just look, it's a deep field. So as I mentioned, Fitzpatrick and Aberg are now the co-favorites at 16-1, Hatton at 18-1, and then you have Harmon, Henley, Connors, and so forth. So it's not like there's a lot of big names here, but it's a very deep field where you could go down. Like I could go all the way down to like say, even Emiliano Grillo, who won last year, is 80-1.
Wow.
Horschel's 90-1. So these are players that if it was considered a pretty weak field, would be more like cut in half, 30-1, 40-1. So it just shows you there's just and the quality of players, of course, is going to make it that much tougher every year as it goes on, Jared. And we'll talk about one and dones in a little bit too, because that's the game and the contest that you've been playing for a few years. Jan and I started last year, and we're going to continue to play it. And that just, I think, becomes harder and harder to win and to figure out which one player is going to win an event each week.
For sure, yeah, and we'll talk through the strategy again here. It's good. We have these young golfers coming up like Aberg because we lost John Rahm to the tour. We'll see who follows him there, but that's watered down. It's going to make the majors even more exciting though, because it's going to be 4 times a year that we finally get to see all these guys playing in the same tournament again.
Yeah, it's crazy. We'll draft the Live Tour guys in just a little bit. So as far as this field, what's interesting is did you know who your picks were last year in this event, Jared?
Yes, it's nice. I keep all my notes for these shows saved, so I can go back and look last year. What I said about the course, who I picked. I picked Connors in this tournament last year as well. So
yep. Same money, same odds.
Wow.
Perfect.
25-1. So Jared's going to invest $40 on Connors at 25-1. And again, Connors, he's played here 5 times. He has 4 top 15s, 1 top 5, but he does not have a top 5 since this Texas Open win. So I would be a little bit concerned with that. But again, this is a good golf course for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning. The only tournament he's ever won on the PGA Tour is Valero. So Connors, he didn't finish well last week. I think he was 33rd last week at the Century, but he was 8th in that field tee to green. He lost 7 strokes putting, which is always a potential concern with Connor. He's not a good putter, but for whatever reason, he's gained strokes putting in 4 of his last 5 appearances here. So he seems to, I don't know, maybe it's luck, but maybe he just feels good on these greens, feels comfortable on these greens. So I trust the ball striking to be there, and then if we can get him gaining strokes on the green, I think he has a really good chance to win this event.
We talked about.
I like Connors, and he finished second in the mixed team championship, the Grant Thornton that they had in Naples at the end of the year. So he has been playing, and he played really well, and he actually putted quite well in that tournament.
We talked about international players who have had success here. 3 out of the last 4, 4 out of the last 8, and out of our 9 picks, 7 of them are international players. Corey Connors leads your list. Ryan Fitzpatrick leads my list as one of the co-favorites. I just think right now he's dialed back in again. I know last year wasn't a great year for him. We were a little bit surprised that he just wasn't very consistent, but he gained his game again late in the year. 8 straight top 30s, 6 of those top 15s, 4 of those top 5s, a runner-up and a win. He's the highest ranked player in the field. He's 8th. Harmon, by the way, 9th. Those are the only top 10 players in the field. Played last week, played pretty well last week as well. So, yeah, I think the way he's playing, I believe he's definitely the class of the field. That doesn't mean he's going to guarantee win, but I definitely think he should be the favorite of this event. And I'm not even sure Tyrrell Hatton should be 2nd or 3rd, to tell you the truth. He only has 2 top 10s in his last 8 events. Did have a runner-up at the BMW PGA Championship. But, it sounds like Tyrrell Hatton's on his game, and yet he's got the same odds as Fitzpatrick. I'm a little bit surprised by that.
Interesting. Neither of those guys, neither Hatton nor Fitzpatrick, has ever played Sony.
Yep.
Now I think Fitzpatrick especially, he's 7th on my list of best players on the short par 70. So he's done well at these types of courses, so it should be a good fit for his game.
Well, and plus, you know, they still base out of England, even though Fitzpatrick and Hatton still play a lot in. Well, actually, Fitzpatrick bases out of Hilton Head, and Hatton has been playing in Florida. The fact that they can get to Hawaii and warm up on their game, and with the change of the rules at the Century, where now it's the top 50 and it's one of the designated tournaments, so the field was a lot stronger, a lot more players. And a lot of them decided to make this let's make this a 2-week venture, and because they know the weather's going to be great, they can work on their game. You know, I love Terrell Hatton's swing. I just love it, and it's a little left to right, which is good because across in some of those, you're right to left, and a couple of those dog legs, you got to be careful you don't hit it too far left too quickly. And Fitzpatrick, I heard, well, you know, he got engaged last year, and he was pretty busy with
there
that.
you go. See, that distracted him. That'll distract anybody.
Yeah, he was dating. He was going back and forwards to Hilton Head. She's from Hilton Head. She's a chiropractor.
See?
So he was pretty busy with that. And now that they're engaged,
It's out of the way.
Probably wedding stuff. So anyway, that I think he settled down, and she's with him in Hawaii. And
Cool.
They say he's rolling it really well.
Well, there you go. So that's what you can count on this year on this channel. Jan's inside information on these players. By the way, we're going to record, as I was just mentioning before, so we're going to record your first full insider segment, which will be on Monday. And so we'll have it on the channel on Monday. So keep an eye on that, because that's going to be, we're going to have all of the players that you need to keep an eye on for all sorts of reasons for 2024.
Yeah, we'll try to get some insider scoop. I'm actually got a call in from one of the caddies on the Live Tour to get some insider on those guys.
That's right. Live Tour too. We'll have a little bit, because that's, matter of fact, I think I was looking over it to go over our draft, and there seems to be a pretty good field now of about 30 players. So that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So
getting better.
Again, the team thing distracts you when you're watching it, and the whole visual and the way they produce the event is still, it's kind of distracting, but it's just a better field. Okay, so your number 2 pick, and by the way, I put 45 on Fitzpatrick at 16-1. You put also 40 on Henley. Is that correct? No, Rose. Excuse me. You had Henley last year. I was thinking about Henley because you drafted him. Justin Rose, who I drafted. So you have Justin Rose at 35-1 and Hideki Matsuyama at 45-1 as your next two picks. Jared, you put 25 on each.
Yeah. So Rose, he had a weird week last week. I don't know if you guys saw, he got the 2-stroke penalty on Thursday for hitting the wrong golf ball. He hit Taylor Moore's golf ball.
Okay. I don't know how he could do that.
Yeah, he shot a 71 on Thursday, which kind of took him out of it. But he shot a 61 on Sunday. So he's kind of rolling into this week off a hot round. He led the entire field in approach on Sunday, was second in tee to green. So hopefully he can kind of carry that momentum into this week. Rose hasn't played here since 2017, but he did come in second that year. And then he came in 12th and 13th in his 2 appearances here before that. So he's had success here. It's just been a while. And Rose he's number 1 for me in the stat model I ran this week, just based on the stuff I'm looking at. I looked at, driving accuracy. Rose is 5th in good drives gained. He's 2nd in this field and approach. He's 1st in greens and regulation gain. So more of the accuracy stuff I looked at, Rose last year was very good at. So I think this course should fit him.
And Matsuyama, 3 top 20s and 10 appearances at this event, and he won here just a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't go into this week expecting to bet Hideki, but I just think 45-1 is just way too big of a number for him in this field. I still think he's one of the best 5 or 6 players in this field. And like you said, Greg, he won here just a couple of years ago. So I'm still confused. Hideki was not good last week, which is probably why he's at these odds. But again, I'm not too worried about that. I like the fact that he played last week, hopefully knock some of the rust off. And again, he's won here before, and he didn't play that well at the Century before winning here. So like he's done this before where he didn't play well, then he gets to Waialae and wins. So
Jan, do we still have to keep an it as far as his back and his neck, or is that past history?
Well, it just depends on the weather. If it gets windy, he's not a great wind player. If it stays calm, I like his odds because again, you've got a good feel for the golf course when you've won there. and he took some time off and came to Vegas late just to warm up for a week, and then went back to Hawaii. So he took quite a bit of time off in Japan. It's too cold to play there. So last week was a good warm up week for him, and I agree. I mean, it's a good golf course for him. He hits the ball very high, so if it gets windy, it's a little more difficult to control. When he won there, it wasn't that windy. So, but the scores were really low, so he was making everything. And he's good on slow greens. The greens in Japan tend to be very slow compared to American. And even though he's one of the masters, but the greens were a little bit slower that year. So he's somebody that likes them, because he likes to, I would think it's his weakest part of his game, but he gets too tentative, whereas the really good putters just kind of jam him in. But there is a lot of grain on those greens. They're playing that new Paspalin on the greens, but it's still grainy and it's kind of sticky. So they were complaining last week because that grass is really hard to chip off. You get against the grain, and they were chunking him a lot, and it catches the edge of the club. So I think his chipping is probably the next weakest part of his game. So if he's hitting it good, it doesn't matter.
Speaking of last week, I just get this off my chest. I don't know. The players are obviously getting better every year, and I know that this event was designed for let's just have fun and have some 10, 15 top players come. But now they're trying to make it more serious. If they're going to try to make it more serious with the field, please toughen this golf course up then. I don't know how you do it, but nobody wants to see 28 under par, 26 under. It's a little bit, nobody needs to see that. So if you're going to make it a serious golf course, make it a signature event, toughen up the golf course. Can they toughen up a golf course like that, Jan?
Well, to me, it's a hard golf course because it's so elevated, and I can't get over those hills. Whereas nowadays, they're just bombing them over the hills, and they all go in the same spot, which I don't like as far as golf course design. But it's because the course is so hilly. And the wind didn't blow. When the wind blows, the scores get different. It blew on Saturday, and the scores got a little bit up. So you're at the mercy of the weather. It's always going to be warm, but if it's windy and rainy, then it's a little different. They can't make it any longer because the golf course then wouldn't be fair to the shorter hitters. Not that there's many short hitters playing in that.
How about the rough?
But the rough, they need to make the rough, definitely need to grow up the rough, and I would firm up the greens. They tend to get the greens too wet, and then they spin it back, and then they can save themselves because there's a couple of blind shots there where they can hit it, as long as you don't hit it short where it comes back to you. So they hit it long and suck it back to the pin. So if you made the greens where they were firm, and I think that's the whole key. They keep saying, you've got to make the golf courses longer for the players. Let's make a ball go shorter for them. All you got to do is, like you said, Greg, is grow up the rough and firm up the greens, and you miss and you're in trouble. And you just don't have that out there.
All right. Last week's second place finisher is my second pick this week, Thigala at 30-1. I'm also going with Benny On at 30-1 as my third pick. Of course, Jared talked about On and the stats that really work well. Thigala's got 5 top 20s in his last 7. He's got the win at Fortinet, the runner-up last week. Played here a couple years ago, 8 under par, 48, so that's good enough for me. And On, not only the stats, 12th last year here, 4th last week, 3 top 5s in his last 6, including a runner-up at Wyndham. And Jan is going to talk about why he is somebody to keep an eye on in the Insider Report for 2024. So I just invested 25 in Thigala and 20 on. And then my last 2 picks were Kuchar and Noren. Kuchar 50-1, Noren 55-1. I put $5 on each. And Jared, his long shot was Nick Taylor, the Canadian, at 70-1. You put $10 on Taylor, Jared.
Yeah, the second Canadian on my card, and I didn't even bet my favorite Canadian, who is Adam Svensson, who is in this field.
And it's on your fantasy team.
That'd be painful if he wins and I'm not on him. But I like the number on Nick Taylor. Obviously, the big win at the Canadian Open last year. 11th and 7th his last 2 times here. Now both of those have been on hot putters, which is a little worrisome. The ball striking has just been okay for Taylor at this event. But I just like the number. I think he's better than this number. And again, he's a guy who he played last week. He wasn't great, but I like the fact that he played.
Yeah.
And was able to knock some rust off. It's not his first event in 2 or 3 months.
And you mentioned Kuchar also plays well here. 8 top 10s in 18, 5 top fives, a win in 2019. Matter of fact, lately he's got 8 top 15s in his last 10, with 7 top 10s, 4 top fives, and a win. And he's playing better lately because he didn't have a great year last year, but he is playing better. 3 top 20s in his last 5, runner-up at that Worldwide Technology Championship event, which he was leading big until he got I don't know, what did he have? Like a quadruple bogey. I never
It's
seen
ugly to watch. Oh my
Oh.
God! He kept chunking it, hitting it, coming back at him. They
Yes.
tried it, and he kept hitting that hybrid. It's like it's not working. Change to a. And he's such a great wedge player. I was shocked he did that.
He had like what, a 6-stroke lead or something like that, and he went off the green. He was like tied. It was amazing. So anyway, that was a runner-up for him. And then, of course, as I mentioned to the other long shot, being Noren, who has 2 top 5s in his last 4 events. Okay. Anybody else before we move on, Jared, that you wanted to mention?
You mentioned Griot. I think he is someone I'm still considering just at the number 80 or 90 to 1 in this
Yeah, that's a
field.
big number. Yeah.
And then the other guy I'm still looking at, who actually bet last week, is Tom Hoagie, who's just a really good wedge player. I think he's he won at Pebble, which is another short course. And Hoagie was 3rd in last week's field in strokes gained approach. So the iron play was there. He didn't make enough putts. So I think Hoagie's still like 100 to 1. So
Wow.
he's someone to maybe look at.
Definitely a good one. What's Eric Cole? What's his odds?
He's
Pretty low.
28
30,
now,
35,
I believe.
28.
Yeah, he's gone down to 28 to 1. That's kind of why I stayed away from him. I like him. We all like him. How can you not, the way he's playing? He's got 5 top 15s in his last 6, 4 top 5s, and a runner-up at the Zozo. He hasn't won yet, so that's coming. But yeah, those odds I think were just a little too low for me now that he's 28 to 1. Kirk's trying to make it back-to-back. He's playing here. He actually has been runner-up here twice. You mentioned him in the stats. McCarthy is somebody to keep an eye on maybe as well. His odds aren't that bad. Your boy Cam Davis is playing this week. Zalatoris started off at 30 to 1, which was the biggest joke in the world. I mean, now he's 50 to 1. He should be 200 to 1. The guy is not winning this week. It's going to take us some time. And he even played in the Hero and he was the last place. I mean, come on. Just give the guy a little time. And I know you were a little bit concerned with Zalatoris too because of the injury. It's not something that's, who knows how he's going to respond to it.
Yeah, it's one that I'm concerned with. I know Jared loves Zalatoris, and I like him as a person. I think he's great. His putting's always been horrible. But the thing that concerns me is that with his golf swing, it's kind of like Ashday Batia's, is that he's somebody they call it the X factor, where your hips start down before you finish your backswing, and there's a huge lash then with that, and because of his back, that's going to be a major problem. That's what they keep saying about Batia. If he ever put on weight and didn't have that X factor, he would not be able to hit it as far. So I'm concerned with him, how much that's his second surgery. And this was a major surgery. This was kind of dangerous. And so I think he's going to be very tentative. If he goes out there hard, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Did he change his swing? I thought I saw something about him changing his swing post.
He had to change it, otherwise he wouldn't be able to walk. And he's still got a good golf swing, and it might actually be better for him now because he's kind of going to do like a couple of the players have done, is shorten their follow through, so it's a little more compact, and it doesn't have that X factor, what they call it. There's a certain term for it, that it's X something or other, where it's the the difference between the hip and your shoulder on the way down. And I heard his swing is a lot more compact, but still, I don't know what happens once the gun goes off. If you can keep that going. And he's only changed for the last year, so I don't know.
All right. Now, before we move out, one and done, and again, we're going to be talking about this. So I have 3 players that I'm thinking about with one and done, and you have to, it's the first event of the season, so there's a whole bunch of strategy involved there. But one of the guys that I am looking at, and we just mentioned, actually, obviously all 3 of them, but we just mentioned him, and that's Eric Cole. I mean, now I would mention him in this one because he's hot. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know if he's going to continue to be hot this year. He's still. I know he's 35. It's not like he's 25, but still, he's new to success on the PGA Tour. So I'm thinking this week may not be a bad week to take him. I'm also looking at Thigala, and I'm looking at Benny On. Same thing. Now, Jan is going to talk about why she thinks he could be hot all year, but we don't know that, and this might be a perfect time to take someone like Benny On. Anyway, those are the three players that I'm thinking about. Who are you thinking about taking this week, Jared? One and done.
Yeah, I have three players I'm thinking about too, but they're three different guys than you. So Corey Connors and Justin Rose, I'm considering. I just again, I just like both of them this week. The other guy is Russell Henley, who I just think this is like just thinking for the rest of the season, like what other spot would be better to use Russell Henley? I'm not sure there is one. My concern with Henley would be like, is he going to be the most popular pick, which is always tough to know beforehand, but I do think a lot of people will be on Henley. So I'm right now I'm leaning towards Connors. I just really like Connors this week. So that's my lean as of now, but I might end up going to Henley or Rose.
Have you done any work on this yet, Jan?
Oh yeah, I actually am interesting about Justin Rose because he was not on my radar. Obviously, I've got Eric is up there, and I'm not going to do Ben on this one. I had him at first because I'm so on. I love his new coach and what they've done with the swing, and then and the new putting style. But he hits it. They're carrying on how because he's gained like 20 yards that he's going to be great. But distance isn't the big thing on this golf course. I like Corey Connors. I'm going to probably go with JT Poston. I mean, JT Poston is such a good putter, and he played well last week. I don't know that he finished well, but I think he shot like 500 or 600, which is kind of like par over there.
Yeah.
At Kapalua. But I think it's a good golf course for him, and his short game is so good. So he's somebody I'm looking at. So I'm probably going to keep Ben on for a longer golf course.